when you are learning a new movement, how you learn or what you pay attention to matters. So if you're new to the deadlift, paying attention to your targets with the movement pattern should be the first priority for you. So are you getting to the points of the movement that you need to get into in a safe way? But once you're moving and you're hitting those performance points, like keeping your spine in neutral, standing up, stacked, sitting back, once you get that down, then integrating internal body cues or sensations is the next step to enhance the movement. So what do I mean by that? When I was coaching the movements in previous videos, I talked about look for a stretch in the back of your leg, squeeze your glutes. Those are internal sensations that's from your body, and it takes time and attention to be in tune to that. So some people may take a little bit more time till they can pay attention to that than others, depending on your experience. So in this video, I'm going to talk about those internal body sensations that I want you to look out for as you become more familiar with the movement. These can apply to any of the variations of the deadlift, trap bar, conventional, RDL, and sumo. And any of the modifications, whether it's using a bench to reduce the distance or changing the equipment that you're using. So and I'm going to use a med ball, and I might change it as I am going through this video. So with the setup, if you have not watched the previous videos of the basics, of the different types of deadlifts, I suggest watching those first. So as you approach the deadlift, your setup, after your spine is in neutral, what you want to do is you want to take up slack in your equipment with your body so that your body is under tension, full body is under tension and connected. So if I'm using a med ball and it's dead weight on the ground, I'm not gonna pick it up, but I'm just gonna connect with it with my body. Shoulder blade, and it basically connects as I'm pulling my shoulder blades back and I'm lifting my hips till I feel tension through my hamstrings. So this is taking slack up in your equipment. Now if it's a barbell, it's kind of easier to feel because you could feel the bar pulling into the weights. So this is taking up slack in the equipment, feeling a stretch in your hamstrings. Now you're gonna meet that stretch with your glutes squeezing into one another. Then you release as you go back down. So really squeezing through the motion into the top, then letting go as you sit your hips back. If that's hard for you to feel before you get started, maybe squeeze your glutes together. And as you squeeze your glutes, pay attention how much of your hamstrings are squeezing as well. If your knees shoot back like this, then your hamstrings are probably helping that snap back. So try to keep your knees soft as you do that. The next thing is the scoop. So applying what I just said, now let's add the scoop. Now the scoop and the dig, I'm going to talk about the dig as well, help get a little bit more of the hamstrings. So you're adding on to this glute squeeze, adding on to the taking up slack in your equipment. So you're here, slack is taken up, you feel your hamstrings. You're gonna dig your heels down as if you were trying to break the floor. And as you lift, you're gonna scoop your hips through till you get to the top. You're scooping your hips, but you're not tipping your pelvis posteriorly and rounding your spine. You're just scooping your hips. And basically what you're doing is you're recruiting, well, the idea is for you to recruit other fibers within the glutes besides the ones that are straight up and down. We're trying to add those that also contribute to this motion as well as rotation. So one other way you can think about it is the dig and the heel dig is essentially like doing this with your feet as you're coming up, except your feet aren't moving. That's your scoop. Notice there's no snappy back on my knees at any point. Now they come close to straight. They're not bent, they're just soft. The last thing is breath control, which I've been reinforcing in all the other videos. With deadlifting, as you're an experienced deadlifter, you're building weight, breath support is going to be needed after you reach a certain point. So experienced or not, even experienced deadlifters, depending on how their body characteristics are, previous injuries and everything, connection, I would say, with their deep core, they should not need breath support until it's like above 40% of their body weight. So let's do simple math. Let's say if I weigh 100 pounds, anything over 40 pounds, I might need some breath support. If you're a newer deadlifter, you should be selecting weight where you can control your breathing. So I'm gonna save that advanced stuff for a different video and just focus on the basics. The breathing, guys, is what helps you stay connected with your core. If you're holding your breath or you're not flowing through this motion with your breath, then you're gonna need to adjust how you're bracing your core. We wanna keep it as simple as possible for your core. I don't want you bracing your abdominals because that can put you more into a flex position, could put more pressure through your discs. You only need to brace as much as you need, and the breath really points out some, I guess, gaps in people's training and their core foundation. So the target breath is exhaling as you stand up. The exhale helps connect with the abdominals, the pelvic floor, you're using your diaphragm, and just the movement itself, you're connecting with the deep back muscles of the deep core. So you're exhaling, that's your core. Now, but based on my deep core training modules or videos, you know that if you're connected with your deep core, you should still be able to breathe. Like that connection is just enough that you can maintain your breath. If you're not there, you got to train that. So you exhale, still neutral, inhale on the way down. So the premise behind the inhale is you're still connected, what you need to be connected with your deep core, but you're elongating the deep core as it's connected. So it's still supporting you, but it's not so rigid that you don't have any give. And your glutes are controlling this as well as your deep core, because your deep core is working as you inhale, and it's accommodating as the shifts within your body. It's accommodating the movement of not only your muscles and tissues, but also what's going on from an organ standpoint as it fluctuates with your diaphragm. Okay, so we talked about breath, we talked about scoop, we talked about tension, taking slack in your equipment. We talked about the heels movements. Those are the main things with the lower body. With your upper body, I talked about this as well in previous videos, but the more finger grippy you are, the less you're going to connect with your lats as you are pulling your shoulder blades down and in. So I like to get people to practice this knuckles underneath the bar position or whatever you're using, because for whatever reason, which I won't get into because it's just complex, is that helps you to connect with your lats better. And we want our lats connected with our glutes when you're doing the deadlift. So that's your hand grip. Now, if you're using a barbell, some deadlifting tutorials would teach you split grip like this, may teach you just this grip, or maybe even underhand grip. The benefit of the split grip comes whenever you're doing a lot of reps where your grip can get tired, or it's combined, the deadlift is combined with other movements that fatigue your grip. If you're just practicing the deadlift itself, you might want to just start here so you can get the shoulder blade position down before you do the split grip. When you're doing the split grip, you want to make sure it's your forearm. Your shoulder blades are still connected, then you're rotating your forearm. You compare that with rotating your whole arm, because that can change things up with the shoulder mechanics and then make it different as you're pulling. So playing around with that. The other thing is shoulder blade position. When I was new to deadlifting, I would kind of keep my shoulders shrugged, or whenever I got to the top, I would like keep my shoulders shrugged instead of keeping them just in. So as you're learning the deadlift, you might find yourself doing that as well and like keeping your elbows somewhat bent. And that's okay at first, but you're putting a lot more effort and you are putting strain on the tissues in your elbows as well as just your shoulders. But really work to not let your shoulders be soft down, but just in. They're already down, so down and in technically, and your elbows straight. Let's see, anything else? Talked about the core with the breath. That's pretty much the basics on enhancing the deadlift. As you get more experienced, these enhancements will really make a difference in your movement efficiency as you keep practicing it. And as you get heavier and heavier, you'll learn that changing your grip is really helpful, because that can affect how much you are lifting. And once you do get heavier, you have to be strong in your upper back, because the bar does put a downward force, and if you're not strong, it'll pull you forward, which can create a really substantial transition between your mid-back and your lower back, and that can create potential opportunities for injury if you don't maintain your positioning through the movement. In the next video, I'm going to cover how to perform a series of accessory exercises to strengthen your body for the deadlift.